From the Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View with your host, Jesse Tenor.
Good Sunday morning to you and welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jesse Tenor. Arkansas's policy requiring Medicaid beneficiaries to work or go to school results in hundreds more losing their coverage. We'll look closer at why that's happening. Plus, hear from a state lawmaker after his tweet about poverty in America went viral and not really in the way he wanted. But we begin with the campaign that isn't over yet. You thought we were done talking elections, but we're not. Early voting begins later this week in the runoff for Little Rock mayor. Frank Scott Jr. and Baker Curris are the two candidates left standing. Here to discuss the race are Antoine Phillips with the Scott campaign and Miguel Lopez with the Curris campaign. Welcome to you both. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So we're, of course, 9 days out from Election Day. The work continues for your campaigns to attract voters. Just to kind of catch people up, I wanted to break down kind of how the numbers played out on Election Day. So there's kind of a stark difference. Scott won South and Southwest Little Rock, and then Curris won West Little Rock, and then the third place finisher, Warwick Saban, he took the areas like Hillcrest, the Heights, and Soma. And so, Miguel, I'll start with you since you're sitting closest to me. What's the biggest challenge for Curris moving forward to win the people outside of these areas in Saban's base?
You know, I think one of the first challenges is letting people know that the race isn't over. You know, when I'm out and about talking to the community, I say, hey, make sure you vote for Baker. And they say, well, I've already voted for him. I'm like, great. We meet again December 4th. So just continuing that momentum, but also, you know, it's pretty easy to see that Saban had a huge following, 19,000 votes. So I think going forward is how do we go and appeal to those voters and get them in the Curris camp.
And then how has the Scott camp been trying to do the same thing?
Well,
of course, take the numbers away from Curris.
Likewise, like Miguel mentioned, the number one thing is awareness that there is a second election. I think from Frank Scott's campaign, the number one issue is to shore up the people who voted for him the first time around and let those people know that you got to go show your support for Frank Scott again. But I think the message about unity and bringing the city together and bridging all kind of divides will resonate with Saban supporters, and we hope that message will get them out to the polls and vote for Frank Scott.
Now, Saban ultimately decided to not endorse either man left standing in this race, but fair to say his voters would put either of your candidates over the top. And so in the 4 precincts that he did win, Curris has about a 5.5-point advantage. So, Antoine, let's start with you. How do you target voters whose preferred candidate is no longer in the running?
Well, I think the first thing you got to do is make sure that those people understand what the Frank Scott campaign message is, which is unity and bringing the city together. The second thing, there are some issues that are important to those folks that live in the kind of midtown areas that I think Frank has been very clear on those issues, and I think it aligns with those supporters and making sure that they understand that things like 30 crossing and respect for all people in all communities is a part of Frank Scott's message. And once those people realize that, I think they'll join the Team Frank.
And then, Miguel, what messaging, what sort of issues are you guys using to target the Curris camp?
You know, I'm glad Antoine brought 30 crossing. The people that supported Saban were starkly against 30 crossing because most of them tend to live in the downtown area. So if that's the main issue for you, you really have an easy option, and that's Baker Curris. You know, Frank Scott was on the Highway Commission. He voted for 30 crossing. So if you're not happy with 30 crossing, the choice couldn't be easier for you to make.
If I can jump in there, I'm a lawyer, so sometimes I want to debate. So I think
that's what it's for, yeah.
That's what we're here to be about today. As it relates to that issue, I think it's important to note that the candidates have made positions and statements about this issue. Mr. Curris has indicated no opposition to the 30 crossing. I think Frank has been very clear on how that could bring connectivity to our city and has addressed that with a lot of the voters. And I think once you hear Frank's explanation of what went on in the process to change the plan by listening to those interested, making sure that people are not adversely affected the way they were when 630 was created years ago. I think once you hear the full story, you realize that Frank is the guy to lead the city in the future.
Yeah, and if I can add, you're right. There isn't nothing we can do about it now because Frank already voted for it and it passed. So I think going forward is who's going to be better positioned as a mayor to be a good advocate for the city, right? Is it going to be the guy that voted for it or the guy that is committed to the city, to the residents of the city, and knows full and well what the city wants and needs.
Now, all of us have been talking about this race for a while. We find it very interesting, but the race was kind of shot into the national spotlight for a social media post that has since been deleted. So to catch viewers up on that too, the Little Rock Fraternal Order of Police has endorsed Curris. The post itself showed Scott shaking hands with Roger Talley. That's the man suing the Little Rock Police over no-knock warrants. He did that. He sued them back in October. And then earlier this month, Talley was involved in an incident in Cross County where he allegedly hit a deputy with his car, and he's since been arrested. And so the FOP defended the post but deleted it after it drew widespread criticism. And so, Miguel, I actually wanted to start with you here. Baker Curris said that he did not approve of the post. How did the post go over with him in talking to him and the Curris campaign itself, given the FOP's support of him?
Right. You know, both candidates interviewed for the endorsement of the FOP. Of course, we were appalled by that post. There isn't a place for that in politics. We've run a clean campaign. All 5 candidates ran a clean campaign up until this point. So going forward, we just want to reiterate with the people that, crime is an issue in the city, and we really need to make sure that we're working on ensuring the community and the police have strong relationships. But again, there is no place for posts like that in this world. It just adds to the divisiveness of the city, and Baker actually had an official statement on it, and which led to them removing the post in the days ahead.
Okay, and then Antoine, we do know that Scott didn't approve. He called it a divisive smear tactic. He was pretty surprised by it, I think. Are there concerns about bad blood if he does win the race?
I don't think so. I think Frank I think he stated last week that he has received a lot of grace and mercy in his life, just like many of us, and he's not going to allow this to prevent him from governing the city and working with the FOP. But I think it is important to know a few things about that post, Jesse. First, Miguel is right that I think most of the candidates interviewed for the endorsement, but that was before we realized what type of things they would engage in, like this post. This post is definitely divisive. I think it made national news because people were upset by it. And from Mr. Curris's camp, I do know that he issued a statement asking him to take down the post, but I would expect him to take it a step further. I think you contact FOP and make them apologize for these type of divisive tactics. Make the community know that you're not standing for this, and if they won't apologize, then that you don't accept their endorsement. Because if you're serious about uniting the city, if you're serious about putting things in the past and changing this city for the community, things like that used to happen in Little Rock shouldn't happen now or in the future.
Were there behind-the-scenes conversations like that going on?
Yeah, Baker had the official statement, and one of the things that we tell people is endorsements don't win campaigns. What wins campaign is having a good message. We think it's time for a mayor that can really unify the city. If you look at our supporters, we've got people on the left, on the right, old, young, Hispanic, African Americans. That's how you unify a city. It's not just saying, hey, I'm going to unify it and have no substance behind that. You really unify a city by having people from all walks of life at the table championing your cause, and that's what we're looking forward to doing in the 4 weeks ahead. Is unifying the city, unifying the campaign, and finishing strong.
Just to add, last thing, I agree with Miguel. It's time to unify the city, and I think that's been the campaign message from Frank Scott for the past year. Is that it's time to unify. So it's good to know that Baker Curris recognizes that and is joining that movement and unifying the city. And I think Frank did a good job of that with a commercial that's been out recently, showing that diversity that Miguel mentioned, where you're talking about different races, different ages, different parts of town, bringing this city together. And I think it's going to take a person that everyone believes in who can bring that type of change. And it's our belief that Frank is that man.
And we'll get to some more of the issues of the campaign in just a second here, but we will take a quick break. More with Miguel Lopez and Antoine Phillips coming up right after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Anywhere in the state, dial 8. That's 888-8888. Rainwater, Holt, and Sexton will help you weather the storm. Need a lawyer? Just dial 8. 888-8888. Anywhere in the state, 888-8888. Rainwater, Holt, and Sexton will help you weather the storm.
Saline County is one of the fastest growing areas in the entire country. The state's best schools, thriving businesses, family-friendly communities, and the great outdoors combine to make our home both exceptional and uniquely local. At Saline Health System, we deliver care that's as extraordinary as our home. With the most advanced technology and a team of doctors and nurses who know you by name, we're here to provide the care you deserve. Because around here, local is always extraordinary.
Cavender's Christmas kickoff sale is here, and we've got something for everyone on your list. Get 20% off men's shirts and $10 off men's jeans from Ariat, Rock and Roll, Wrangler, and Cinch. Save 15% on ladies' tops and dresses and $10 on ladies' jeans. We've got the best selection of name brand boots. Save up to $50 on a pair they'll love. Ariat boots are now $10 off, plus save up to $50 more with Ariat's mail-in rebate during Cavender's Christmas kickoff sale.
Take a test drive and get a front row seat to plenty of entertainment. The Volkswagen Drive to Decide event. Get a Volkswagen with America's best 6-year, 72,000-mile limited warranty. Right now, you can lease a value-packed 2019 Jetta S for just $149 a month or get a $1,000 bonus.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. We are back with Antoine Phillips and Miguel Lopez talking about the Little Rock mayoral runoff. And so since we did kind of end on a police chat there, I wanted to go into that a little more. So we are seeing an uptick in homicides this month, and public safety, I think, is arguably the #1 issue that are drawing people out to this race and, you know, just concerning the citizens of Little Rock in general. So let's talk some specifics here. What do these candidates see as a day-one strategy where they can say, I will get into this office immediately and start attacking crime? Miguel?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the most effective things we can do is increase the response times for our first responders. There's tons of data that show that increasing the response time allows for preventative measures that prevent crime and help reduce crime. You know, Frank Scott says he's going to hire 200 new police officers. Where's he going to get the money from, right? As a budget, we're running a deficit this year. You know, we believe that there's things you can do in addition to just hiring more cops. So that's what we're focused on from day one, is how do we increase the response times for our first responders.
So yeah, I mean, how would you respond to that with Scott?
Well, two things. The entire premise of the Frank Scott campaign is about a cultural change, a change in how we operate, a change in how we think about things. And I think in the police department, we need a cultural shift too, and the shift towards community policing where people have a better relationship with their officers. So when crimes are committed, that there's not this disconnect, this distrust in our community. So that's what needs to happen first. And Frank has been clear that he's going to be involved and make the decision, be involved in the decision making of who the new police chief is to make sure that that culture is implemented. As it relates to the increase in police officers, that has been a part of the campaign message. And one thing that's important about anyone's budget, whether you're in office or you're at home, your budget reflects your priorities. And if we're serious about making Little Rock a safer place, if we're serious about community policing, then we need to put the dollars behind it. And whenever you make decisions at home about what you're serious about and what needs to be done, you make those adjustments. And I think Frank Scott, as the mayor of Little Rock, will do just that.
So he has a plan of how he could work with the budget?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, and then since he brought up the police chief too, obviously the next mayor would be pretty instrumental in that. So what does Curris want to do? How involved does he want to be?
Yeah, Baker said he wants to be super involved, and he says that the next police chief shouldn't get hired until he meets with members of the community. We definitely want to have strong community output and input as it relates to who the next chief is going to be, because whoever that chief, whoever he or she is, we want to make sure that they are involved in the community, they know the key stakeholders, and that they're not just sitting in their office all day, right? That they really are practicing what they preach in the community policing.
Now, since unity is a main topic here, and I mean, we want to see more police in these communities, I mean, should the chief then, or are you guys pushing for a chief hired inside the department or outside? Does it matter?
Well, I want to make sure that we're clear. When we say pushing for more police in the community, this is community policing, not just people patrolling, looking for people to
right,
arrest.
But of course the leader has, you know, a lot to say over that.
Absolutely, and I think the leader of the city should also have a lot to say over that process. And if we're changing our city, it starts from the top. And I think if we're talking about who the next election of the police chief is, I think you absolutely need to look in-house, because there's going to be some people who understand this community, who are experienced, who are ready to make that change in the police department, but not forego the opportunity of outside people coming in and bringing fresh eyes. One thing that's important for me as an attorney, that sometimes we bring in outside counsel to look at things differently than we always have. So I think you put everything on the table, and that decision rests with the new leader of our city, and we hope that's Frank Scott Jr.
Yeah, I just bring that up because, you know, all of the interim chiefs are inside. So, yeah, what does Curtis think about that?
You know, I think whoever the community wants, I think that's most important, whether it's internal or external. Certainly there's a lot of fine men and women currently serving with the LRPD that would make great police chiefs, but at the end of the day, I don't think the decision rests on Baker's shoulders or the city manager's shoulders. I think we really need some strong community buy-in, and whoever they decide is who's going to get the job.
Education is also a major priority for voters citywide, and there are plenty of voices who want local control back with LRSD. I think people make that very clear, and it's pretty clear that the Department of Education will make that determination only when it's ready. They still can't kind of give a timeline to it. However, it is very likely that when local control does return, whoever is elected mayor this time around will still be sitting in that seat. And so, Antoine, let's start with you. What do you think, once that does happen, what do you think Scott would do as mayor to kind of facilitate this, or how would he get involved?
Well, I think the mayor does have a role. Obviously, he's not running to be the superintendent of Little Rock School District, but you do have a role as the leader of the city to improve educational opportunities for our city. So I think the mayor, under Frank's campaign, he has laid out on frankscottjr.com his educational opportunity agenda. And in that agenda, it includes the hiring of a chief executive officer who would be the city liaison to Little Rock School District to make sure the city know what's going on in Little Rock School District, so what's happened in the past will not happen in the future, and lead the charge in finding the right people to be on the school board to make sure that it's competently represented and a true representation of our community.
Curtis, of course, has history here. How does that come into play?
That's a great point. He's not running to be superintendent because he was a superintendent, right? And Baker's going to ensure that every child in this city, from Southwest to the West Little Rock to East Little Rock to the central part of the city, is going to have access to quality education. You know, I think it behooves us as a city to hire someone as the next mayor that really knows the ins and outs of education, if that's what's priority to you. You know, when Baker first took the job as superintendent, he wasn't the most popular person. I think that's an easy sentiment to make. But in the short time that he was superintendent, he was actually able to win the hearts and minds of people. So much so that when he effectively got fired, there was a rally at the state capitol demanding for his return. And I think that's just a testament to where his values and who he is. You know, Maya Angelou's got that great quote that says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And I think he's shown us time and time and again that he's committed to good education, that he's going to put the city first, and he's going to put the children first as well.
And if I could respond to that, Jesse, I love Maya Angelou, but I'm a big Jay-Z fan, and I don't talk without mentioning
How did I know that you would try to fit
this in? You know
I
got to go there. Jay-Z has a quote that says, a lot of issues in the world I know, but first I got to take care of the world I know. Frank knows the Little Rock School District. He's a product of the Little Rock School District. He knows this city. He's a product of the city. So if you want someone who understands the city and understands the school district, Frank Scott is your guy. And as it relates to that rally, with all due respect to Miguel and Baker, that rally was not about Baker Curtis. As a matter of fact, I was the MC at the rally. You can go back and check the tape. And at the rally was about the Little Rock School District. It was not about one man. The Little Rock School District is bigger than one man. So for anyone to say that it was all about Baker, it's not about the Baker. It's about the community. It's about our teachers. It's about our students.
But people are still upset, right?
Yeah, of course, people were upset. I mean, and to say that a person that went through the public school system knows more about the school district than the former superintendent, I don't think there's a lot of logic in that comment, Antoine. But so to speak, it is important to have someone that is a strong ally of the school district. You know, if you're passionate about returning local control to the school district, Baker's literally the guy that got fired for standing up for that. So if that's your #1 issue, I think the choice is pretty clear, and that's Baker Curtis.
Miguel, Antoine, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having us.
And of course, you'll be able to hear from the candidates themselves later this week. Frank Scott Jr. and Baker Curtis will face off in the only scheduled one-on-one debate on Tuesday night, right here in this studio. You'll see it live at 6:30 Tuesday night on KRK. And then when we come back, Arkansas makes national headlines after thousands lose their health care coverage due to a new policy. We'll look at what it's been like for people who learn they no longer have insurance. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Don't suffer through knee pain, shoulder pain, back pain, or pain from your cancer treatments. Dr. Qureshi and his staff at Arkansas Spine and Pain are here to give you the relief you've been looking for. Call today. You deserve to get your life back ASAP.
What is a spork?
Sorry, that's also incorrect.
Who is Joe Flubber?
Nope, and I don't think that's a real person.
Who are avocados? Arachnophobia, pterodactyls, macrame. What is it? Who is Santa Claus?
That's correct.
Wait, I got it right?
Sometimes you need more than one chance. The new Big Multiplier Supersize Scratch-Off gives you up to 40 chances on each ticket with a top prize of $250,000.
Black Friday savings up to 50% start now at Ferguson's Furniture. Come in now for the biggest discounts in Arkansas. Like this Lazy Boy Rocker Recliner, just $2.99. Or this Lazy Boy Power Recliner, limited quantities, just $5.99. Take home this Lazy Boy Sofa, only $6.99. Or this Lazy Boy Sofa, only $7.99. Save up to an incredible 50% off bedrooms throughout the entire store. And save up to $500 on Arkansas's largest dressless collection. Ferguson's Furniture, next to Walmart in Benton.
Sold it.
Attention commercial developers and investors. Lender ordered. Absolute auction. Wednesday, November 28. 2 choice Lowe's out parcels in Bryan, Arkansas. Seller regardless of price. Go to wilsonauctioneers.com.
Sold it.
It's Black Friday going on all month long at Phil Wright Autoplex. So what does that mean to you? That's great savings, like a 2019 Chevrolet Equinox, 0 down, 0% financing at only $339 a month. Or Black Friday savings on a 2018 Chevrolet Malibu up to $7,500 off, or 0% for 60 months. 2018 Chevrolet Silverado up to $14,000 off, or 0% financing for 72 months. So find new roads at Phil Wright Autoplex, exit 84, just off 540, Russellville.
Mitchell's Homes has the largest selection of manufactured homes in the state. We pride ourselves in building only the top quality homes. From a starter home under $30,000 to a beautiful lakeside cottage, Mitchell's has a home for you. Free setup and delivery. Open 7 days a week, 24/7 at mitchellshomes.com. Come check out our selection of first quality homes at any of our locations in Searcy, Batesville, and Wynn. Come find your new home today.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. A Republican state representative experienced the wrath of the internet after one of his tweets went viral. Stephen Meeks wrote recently that, with some exceptions, being poor in America is a personal choice. He has since apologized for the wording of it, but also says he's heard plenty of stories of people in poverty who are able to work their way out of it.
So we're going to get back down to business.
State Representative Stephen Meeks sits on the legislature's Education Committee. Over the weekend, he took to Twitter to try to teach a fellow Arkansan about the American dream, but ended up getting an education himself.
There was a lady on Twitter who said that the reason why she was poor was because of government.
The Springdale woman tweeted, "The government wants to keep people poor. That way they can control them." Meeks' response went viral. Being poor in America is a personal choice unless there are mitigating circumstances. A homeless man can go to school, get a job driving a truck making $70,000 per year, and in 20 years become a millionaire. In America, you can work hard and change your future if you choose.
That was a guy I called into a radio show that I was listening to about 2 weeks ago. You know, who knows, in 20 years he could be running the company. Those things are possible still in America.
But before Meeks deleted the tweet, it had more than 8,000 responses and many more reactions from across the country questioning his logic. The woman replied, "Being poor is not a personal choice by most people, and I'm fairly certain no child gets up in the morning and says, 'I hope I am poor today.'"
So I still believe in America that opportunities exist and a person can change their destiny if they so choose. And unfortunately, people took it from there, and before long, I hated the poor, I didn't understand.
Meeks argues he does understand. The district he represents is rural and middle class. But for those still in doubt, he tweeted again.
If anyone took it wrongly, I do apologize. That was not my intent.
Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families didn't respond directly to Meeks' tweet, but did say how difficult it is for Arkansans to move out of poverty. Executive Director Rich Huddleston noted about 23% of children in Arkansas still live in poverty. Unemployment in the state is low, but Huddleston says jobs still don't pay enough. He also stresses the state's tax burden, education levels, even social issues come into play.
I forget that if you're a minority worker, I mean, you still have to overcome the long-term effects of racism in the South. I mean, it still exists, and I think if we've learned anything by our national politics over the past year, racism is still alive and well. I'm in the South, I'm in the country. I mean, that comes down, impacts of the lives of day-to-day workers.
Huddleston says there are a couple things going right, though. Voters recently passed minimum wage. The federal government increased child care funding here, and the Arkansas Works program is still up and running. Now, speaking of the state's Medicaid expansion program, Arkansas has been making national headlines in recent days because of a policy that kicked in this year for a good number of Arkansas Works beneficiaries. Thousands have been kicked off their insurance plans for not complying with the state's work requirement. The policy took effect in June. It was a key issue in the race for governor. One journalist who's been talking to people who've lost their coverage for not complying says he has seen a lot of confusion.
But a lot of times they didn't know why they were kicked off. All they knew is that their coverage ended, they couldn't get their medication anymore, and DHS told them something.
So far, more than 12,000 have lost coverage. Those who don't comply for 3 months in a calendar year are kicked off and locked out until the new year begins. The state currently cannot report how many were kicked off for other reasons, like switching insurance or moving. Funding the Arkansas Works program has been an uphill battle for years for lawmakers, some now pushing to eliminate a big hurdle. One state representative and 2 senators are working on similar resolutions that would get rid of the fiscal session. Since 2010, the legislature has met every other year for about a month on budget issues. These lawmakers argue doing away with the fiscal would save taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's a significant amount of money to have us come down there for 3 weeks or so to do something that really doesn't normally amount to a whole lot.
There are some legislators that want the per diem that will be against this bill.
They're hoping to put a constitutional amendment on the 2020 ballot to get rid of the fiscal. The legislature can refer up to 3 constitutional amendments to the ballot each regular session. So we'll have to wait and see what all they come up with. And we're back to wrap it up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Distracted driving is the leading cause of automobile accidents, responsible for more deaths than drunk driving. FFO Home and KARK have partnered to challenge you to take the No Text Pledge. You can make a difference in many lives, including your own.
Take the No Text Pledge and arrive alive. Do it for your family. Do it today.
Go to ArkansasMatters.com to learn more about the No Text Pledge and how you can participate. Proudly sponsored by FFO Home.
Some things just become a tradition, classics and memories. I'm Alan Tillery with Alan Tillery Auto. You help us create the classics, the memories, and the traditions. And for over 50 years, our family has made it a tradition to take care of you. We value you, our extended family, and we want to take this time to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. From all of us here at Alan Tillery Chevrolet Buick GMC.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And that does it for today's show. Don't forget, you can now take Capitol View on the go with you. Download the Capitol View podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And we're back with an all-new Capitol View next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.